I'll chair since Jeff is virtual. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry we are late. 12:18, we're here for our special meeting, posted for 12 o'clock, December 20th. And we have a few items on the agenda regarding housing. We jump into our first agenda for the discussion and update of our housing lottery applications. And we've got Michael Yearman and Jackie Wheelhan here with us. Go right ahead.
Thanks.
Please.
And I'm probably gonna cover basically all three items
Okay.
at once here, so. So we, on December 13th?
Yes.
Had the closing for the application, process. We received, 20 applicants. 13 were participating partners, 7 of 20 or 100 to 160% AMI. 13 applicants are under 100% AMI, 5 applicants are under 80%. And then actually what was surprising is 17 of the households are 2% or less. So we didn't get a big demand for higher units. After discussing with Adam's lender about how to proceed, one of the things that they have brought up is their concerns about interest rates and needing to have an over appropriation of applicants in case there's attrition at closing. And unfortunately, that means that we would have to cut back on the units to about 10 units if we were to use his construction financing, or even less, potentially even to 6 if we have any other. We are currently processing the applications right now as we speak. So there's probably 3 or 4 that we're gonna have to really push to get some more information out of. So even if we lost a couple more, we'd even have to reduce the unit count even further with having to have that. So I think Adam and I talked, and just based on the potential of dropping the scale of the project, it could affect pricing because of not having the ability to spread units, as well as the concerns around having a next phase that's big enough that we could attract a future developer to build the second phase. So at this time, I think when Adam and I talked, because of the construction financing, we're not recommending we don't move forward with Mr. Berger on the construction financing piece and the next step. We do want to get some direction on next steps from you, and I think there is an opportunity to potentially move forward still with a project next year. I just think that the construction terms that Adam's faced with are limiting and are not the best option for us to move forward. Adam, I know you're on, if you wanted to add anything else.
Yeah, I mean, hey everyone. So yeah, we've been spending a lot of time, and these construction lenders are, we've been working with them for years. One of them is Chaffa. We actually created the Affordable for Sale construction loan program with them, and we're in the middle of building a 12-unit project that you all saw in Stanley, near Stanley Marketplace. What's going on is there's a real concern with respect to interest rate risk by Chaffa and our other lender, which is First Western Trust, who Michael has worked with in the past on his other affordable for sale projects. So these are well-known lenders that have been in this space, lending on affordable for sale projects. So it's not, these are folks that are experienced in this space. And the issue that's come up is with respect to this issue of attrition is associated with the interest rate risk, because even if we had, let's say, 30 applicants, and they're all pre-qualified, between now and the time that we've got CO and we're ready to sell the units to them in 9 months, if interest rates go up, none of them will be able to close on the unit, and because they'll be, their debt service will be too high for them to qualify. And so in conversations with both Chaffa and First Western Trust, the way around that, the best way around that is as many applicants as possible. And because we have 20, I think the best we could do in phase one is 10 units. We've done our own calculation as to what's the least amount of units under 24 that we could build and still maintain the pricing that we provided you, and it's 10 units. So the long and the short of it is we could build 10 units in phase one if we had 20 applicants, because that's essentially a 2-to-1 ratio of applicants to the number of units we build. And, so the question is, do we really have 20? Is it really 17 or 18? Are we going to have fall off out of the gate? And so I think that's really begging the question, do we really move forward if we don't have 20 to start? Because if we don't have 20 and 10 units is the inflection point for us, where if we're less than 10 units, then our pricing will incrementally increase. Does it make sense to move forward? We have I guess just to add some color to what Michael said, these lenders will proceed with us. They're not saying no to the project. They just need the right balance of applicants to unit. It's going to be at least a 2-to-1 ratio based on this interest rate risk that I described. I'll just say one last thing. We own, our firm in partnership with our equity partners owns a significant acreage north of Mountain Ridge. And we're pursuing that project potentially for 2025. I think I mentioned that to you. It's as many as 120 units. It will be a modular project, a combination of townhomes, duplexes, and single family. And just so we're probably going to be able to deliver some of those units between 100 and 140% AMI pricing based on the cost savings we'll be able to achieve with modular. So we're certainly not going anywhere. We're still going to be pursuing these projects in Leadville. And, I wanted to share that with you as well, that our company and our partners are still committed to working in Leadville. I think the question is, do we have the right ingredients based on what our lender's response, and these, this is Chaffa. They're a great lender. The right ingredients. One last point, which is part of this interest rate risk has become real. So I'm building the 4 units that you saw that I'm building for Elevation Community Land Trust. We got COs for those months ago, and we still haven't closed on 2 of the units. It's been a real challenge to get buyers qualified based on the rates right now with lenders. And of the 4 units, we've only sold 2. We literally just got the 3rd one under contract yesterday, and we still don't have the 4th unit under contract. So this is real world issues, and Chaffa is the construction lender on that project. So they're concerned about what's going on in the market. And that's why we are where we are with these lenders. So I'll leave it at that, and happy to answer any questions.
So with that said, the other thing, again, looking at the whole how this process unfolded, I gotta admit the fact that there's a failure on my part, and I owe apology to the commissioners. You know, we didn't advertise the way we needed to. I think had we had the website at where it was, you know, the week before the final deadline, we would have seen more applications. So there's certainly some interest out there in the community. We just failed to provide the details that was necessary, and that falls on my shoulders. You know, as far as making sure that, you know, as project manager that was available. And so, you know, I take fault in that. But, you know, what I would suggest is, you know, there's two options for it. I don't think we'll be able to move forward with Adam. But we did have a secondary option in Oakwood Homes and Solution Builders. They don't have the construction loan issue that we're faced here with the attrition. And what would potentially be worthwhile is exploring, since the sites are ready to go, whether or not they still would be interested. Chris and I talked about the fact of the way the RFP was done, and maybe you can shine a little bit of light on that.
Yes, I think if it ends up that we're unable to contract with Mr. Berger due to the issues that they've both discussed today, I think the county would be able to go back to the second choice of Solution Builders Oakwood to see if they're willing to honor their original bid, if they want to proceed. If they say, no, we need to repencil it, then I think we have to go through another RFP process.
You know, the scope of the grant work, we have achieved what we set out to do otherwise, which is getting the sites ready for vertical development. Sewers in, the sites have been remediated, they're, you know, went over there today to the 3rd Street site. I mean, it's flat, it's ready. We got a lot of dirt out of there, which is great. 5B did a great job, so I commend them, as well as Morrison. So, you know, we were able to achieve, we got the subdivisions accomplished, so if we were to move forward with a conversation with Solution Builders and they're able to work with us, they have everything they need to go. So that's part of option A. The second option would be to hit reset and redo the full RFP process. The issue probably with that is by the time you get through that process, especially with the new BOCC coming in, we won't be breaking ground in 2026. So I'd like to try to still pursue getting some housing built. I also think that, you know, the one thing about potential is with them not having construction financing, if they get folks under contract, they can build houses as they go under contract. Whether or not that discussion becomes fruitful or not, I don't know. We haven't had any conversations with them, but I certainly think it's worth at least a call and to see if we can get something still on track, so. Yeah, and so I think, so the last thing is the lottery and applicants. So, as you know, you have a contract with me to get applicants qualified, and to hold a lottery. My suggestion on that is we proceed with, doing the income qualifications as we are. You know, if we don't hold a lottery, I am prepared to meet the cost of getting people going through the pre-qual process. Cause as you know, I'm contracting with Jennifer Commode and with, and I have Pete, he's assisting with the run between. So if I fail to perform as that contract is written, I will be eating those costs, which is fine, cause that's what we agreed to. But I do think getting folks to the point for the potential of having a conversation with Solution Builders is a real incentive for them to want to participate. So if we do have 15 people who would be able to go under contract with them and then continue to market the rest of the units, and as people apply, you know, I could see that once those units are actually in the ground, folks would certainly be more interested in seeing that product. And, you know, once you see a house, as certainly my experience in Eastern Plains, folks kind of, you know, like, can I get one of those now? And you're like, no, it's too late. But that's the beauty of not having that construction financing. So, so your options, I think the two options I'm gonna recommend are, one is to see if we go to the second respondent, or B, hitting reset.
Okay.
So that's the direction I think we need at this point. And obviously that informs whether or not I have to talk to the applicants, what I need to message, I need to talk to the folks that have taken the time to put in their names.
Yeah. Well, before we, either open up for questions or other, I just have a couple comments. Thanks for Jackie and Michael, both of your extremely hard work going through this, and thank you, Adam. Thank you for bringing, really, I think that you guys have exhausted all of these possibilities and kept the full board apprised of our status through the process, so none of this comes to a shock to either of us, I don't think, cause I think you were able to talk to all of us. I appreciate your humility, Michael, but I do think that looking back and having that clear expectation of our partners also, it's a shame that we didn't have that much material or product in the website to push out, and I think moving forward, that's certainly a lesson learned in, it's not apples to apples with all the communities that folks are working in, and we can do a better job at emphasizing that and making sure that our partners understand what that means here in Lake County. It is really, we just don't have the volume and the population to rely on swarms of folks, being ready and coming to us, so definitely a note for me, and I'm sure others, to bring through the process to the next board as well. I think it sounds like I would agree on Michael's suggestion to move forward with reaching out to solution builders. I think we're in too much of a tenuous spot we're talking about one or two qualified folks drastically changing our scope and our project and your efforts, and I just don't know that we can try to roll the dice on that further. So those are.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's time to turn a new page.
Okay.
Commissioner Fiedler, you're online. Do you have any thoughts and comments as well?
Yeah, first of all, I agree with that direction, and I'll add, my recollection from when we did the original RFP, evaluation, it was a hard decision, so point being for me is that, if we can shift, lanes, that doesn't feel like we're compromising, that I think we had good applicants, so I feel confident that that's a good pathway versus kind of starting back with a new RFP. And then I think I just sort of wanted to maybe I just need to hear it twice, or ask the question sort of like, okay, assuming discussions go well, what does that mean for the people who've already, raised their hand and are trying to get in the application queue? Like what does that mean for, I guess, the product they're actually raising their hand for? Because I imagine it's just inevitably going to be like a little bit of a different, or a significantly different footprint, and product, and then maybe you could just sort of say again, or dig into, what does that kind of mean for, timing, and, the qualification, the ability to apply or qualify for the folks who've raised their hands for these units. Thanks.
So great questions. I can't speak, we haven't had a conversation with solution builders, but if we were to reach out to them, again, their proposal, as you remember, didn't require construction financing, and this is where we're hit at a logjam. And so what I foresee is that because once we figure out this is why I say we proceed with continuing to qualify folks, that if you are deemed qualified, we would be able to bring that list and match people with solution builders product. Whether or not, there's some there's some design things about whether they have to be the exact same unit next to each other in the duplexes, or they can offset them. If one's smaller, like it's a 2-bedroom next to a 3-bedroom. But I still think what we wanna do is honor a lottery process in which that when we, my idea is you basically draw all the names, and the order you draw them is the order that people get to pick which lot they want their unit on, and then we can work with solution builders. There's gonna be some finagling if they, for instance, if you have to put a 3-bedroom next to a 3-bedroom, then we'll have to figure out kind of how that works a little bit, you know, but we will, my hope will be by doing the pre-qualification process, we will know folks who want a 3-bedroom versus folks who want a 2-bedroom or a 1-bedroom or whatever it might be, so that we can then match up that. But I do think it still warrants doing, because of the other thing is that if it does work out with solution builders and they can, you know, if they get a contract with somebody and build them a house, that means everyone wins the lottery that took the time to do that, because we have 20 folks. And we have the option of building 24 houses, so that could be a real big win in that effect. But you know, the other thing I do anticipate, just to Adam's point on interest rates and everything else, I still think there's gonna need to be that discussion with the next BOCC about, you know, in the event there is attrition, once they're under contract and the building's under construction, you know, the county's ability to step in and make them whole on a contract once they deliver the unit or something like that. So I still think there's gonna be some of that we'll have to work through in the contract. The other thing too, that I think one of the big things that was one of the conversations we had is the subordination of a deed restriction to the construction note. I think we still have a lot of issues there too, and the fact that once solution builders would go, because they don't need a construction loan, we can place a deed restriction immediately on the property instead of having it subordinated, which was another kind of in the weeds conversation that we were trying to get her talk through, which we didn't really get into on that, but it helps with that conversation as well. So it could potentially, and again, I don't know if they're interested, right? So I don't wanna overstate, but the fact that the sites are ready to break ground, I think it's worth us kind of putting the foot down on the gas pedal and seeing what we can accomplish, and whether they have any interest. And then I guess what we can do is bring back, you know, we can certainly bring back something to the new BOCC in the next, after we have a conversation. I'm married and now living in Denver half the time, so it's not as far of a drive for me to go over there and have a conversation too. So, yeah, so I think we can get in short answer, a pretty quick feedback, and we'll certainly keep you apprised to that conversation if they're interested.
Hey, Michael, sorry, can I just, hey guys, it's Adam. Listen, I don't, I want to allow you guys to have, frank conversations, without me on the line about this, but I also just want to say to Sarah, Hal, and Jeff, we think what you're doing is commendable. I think that Michael's, program is a great program. I'm sorry that, it appears that we're just not going to get there with you. But we do really think that, your community is a great community. We're going to continue to invest in your community. And hopefully we can have a project moving forward there, next year. We're going to try to strive to make it attainable. And we'll provide you guys with whatever support you need. We've studied these lots. We've done a lot of homework and research and, assessment of engineering associated with the lots. If, the other builder needs any support, or, we can provide any input or provide any value there in terms of supporting them, we're happy to do that. So, want to thank you and Jackie and Michael for all the efforts. You've got a great project, and I'm sorry we're not going to be able to support it based on what the lenders are telling us. So happy to answer any other questions you might have, and wish you guys the best in moving this forward.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate that.
Okay, I think I got the direction I need.
We would like to actually have the, if y'all don't mind, just expressly giving staff the direction to proceed with communicating with Oakwood, and then so as not to delay further if they aren't available or aren't available under the same terms that we bid, to authorize staff to tee up the new RFP as soon as possible. If that works, if you're comfortable with that approach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna belabor any of the process there, and, I think if there's ways that we can make the existing RFP and that process work, that would be our preference. Sorry, there was something else I had in mind, so I mean, as far as all the other details, that is just, and the other agenda items, those are
Yeah.
details that we need to get to once we actually have the next
Yeah,
step of moving forward,
I
okay,
mean, yeah, the last item here is the lottery guidelines, and so clearly those won't apply now. As drafted, we were, you know, again, my biggest concern is we're so far below, like, we're not even at 10 units, we really need to meet that community need and the unit count. And I do think we have the opportunity to honor the applicants that have put up, you know, went through all the steps to get in housing.
Mhm.
So my goal is to fight to get as many houses built with Oakwood and get folks under contract, so, and not having that construction financing might be the key to keep doing that. So yeah, that, and then we would bring back, you know, a new process for that lottery.
okay, but the how would it change that significantly, cause we still have the tier one and then we have everybody else, but ideally everyone will be housed,
Yeah, I
right?
think,
So-
I mean, and if in my dream realm, which I haven't even talked to solution builders about, right? In my dream world is if they're willing to build the homes for anyone that can come to the table and sign a contract and post escrow, then the lottery then is people choosing their sites. And in all honesty, I think you would almost just have everybody in the same lottery, because it's a matter of just, if everyone's gonna win the lottery, then it's not like, it was not like we had thought it would be, what folks would be completely left out, right? And so you would just say, you know,
So basically, this applicant pool is not really gonna be a lottery, right? I
No.
mean, we're gonna build,
whatever they,
well, you know, whatever they can qualify for, right?
if it works
Okay,
out.
you know, what would be the time frame to find out from Oakwood whether or not they could do this?
I know we can find out in 2 weeks, you know, obviously.
Well, with the holidays.
Yeah, so I think in 2 weeks though, I mean, we certainly can write an email and see if they're available. I'm gonna be in Denver on Monday, so if they're available, I'll pop by their office and have a conversation with them.
So much of this is gonna be passed on to the next board.
Or we could have, perhaps if there's room to add on the January 7th meeting for an update.
Yeah, I definitely can give you an update on the 7th.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, well, I'll give you a status update on our conversation.
okay.
But I think we can certainly get them on the line. I mean, they had 5 people on their team, so I'm sure someone's working over the holiday, you know? I'm sure they're not shutting down the production line for the whole week, so,
Okay,
we'll get on it, we'll get you an update on the 7th.
Okay.
okay. I also just wanna acknowledge and say, I know you definitely brought up all of these points and nuances and details of the process with your experience, and I very much more appreciate your highlighting some of those things in the beginning of this process. Having now had to go through this, so thanks and apologies. I'm sorry we had to be here, but yeah, I suppose we couldn't have necessarily assumed or guessed that things would,
Yeah, I think I said, I
the
think,
chips would fall where they have.
I mean, I'll just own it, you know, the marketing stunk, so that's on me, and, you know, I wish we would have done a little better, cause I think when we first went out, not having the stuff ready for them, I think we lost some interest and, just, you know, with 1 week, I mean, just honestly, I'm actually happy we got 20 folks. So, you know, and I think we need to, I mean, I know I'll work my butt off to get them in housing. So they put in the effort, I'll put in the effort to get them in the house if we can make it happen.
Okay.
Okay, so all these lottery timelines and things are, a lot of this is moot now, right?
I don't think necessarily, I think it depends on how fast, you know, Oakwood can move. But I mean, I think you guys saw what they do and they have their models, right? They have their floor plans, and so I think they will be able to just kind of, and they had 5 models that they were gonna offer in their RFP. So I think we can get those out to the folks in the lottery. I will just be blunt, the difficult conversation for, if they're willing to participate, then where the rubber meets the road is how are we actually going to contract, and they're gonna have the same concerns that Adams Bank has around interest rates and stuff. So that the devil in the details of the actual construction contract is where it's gonna, and then the other thing that they're gonna have to do is their due diligence on foundation costs and just like Adam's team was doing. But we have, again, like Adam alluded to, we've engineered, we are those 3, you know, we're able to give that 3 months of knowledge to Oakwood, so they're not starting at 8, right, like Adam's team did, so. That's my goal, is we've had, you know, at this point now, we have fully engineered drainage, fully engineered, you know, sites, we're not guessing what the final site elevations are gonna be there. It's done, we managed to get the site ready, so. The guesswork is real, a lot of the guesswork that Adam's crew had to deal with for the last couple of months is not there, so they do, you know, unfortunately for Adam, but fortunately for them, you know, they don't have to deal with this, the kind of topography and the stuff that kind of caused delays. So I think we can get going pretty fast if they're interested, but I think what I think we would wanna be able to, my goal would be to be able to bring back kind of like just like we had with Adams Banks, like any buy down terms or any attrition, like unit purchases. I think that will be my goal, to get to you guys as an update on the 7th of like, these are what Oakwood is gonna need to make the deal happen, and get your feedback on whether you deem like that's acceptable.
Yeah.
And, you know, we'll go from there.
I just wanna, you said something about if they have to repencil, which I think we should expect that, right? And we've also had that conversation with our current engaged folks, so I just don't want to have some trigger that I wanna be able to work through that and not have that as a trigger to like have us restart all over again, because I think that's a reasonable expectation. I think the bigger benefit and something that's not going to change is their position that they come to us with, not having to refinance. Like, that is not a variable in their any progress that we might potentially be able to have with them.
And I think, you know, this is my first modular project, but the variable that we were dealing with, which it was written into the RFP anyways, that they would be dealing with, is the foundation, and we had that written in as like, you know, their price was a set price, and then they would get final bids on the actual, cause we didn't have a soils test and that, so just like Adam's team had the benefit of getting the soils test first, and then being able to get the recommendation from the soils test of what the foundation needed to look like. Again, all 3 applicants didn't have that, so that would be I think honestly, unless to Chris's point, unless their production costs have gone up $25 a square foot.
I was thinking more of that line, not the,
Yeah.
not anything that would be outside of what the scope of the RFP was that was issued.
Like, so now they come back to us and say, oh, now.
Sure, I mean, if it's a more of a mechanism of like protecting us and like they don't automatically get this agreement, right? Like, great, but if it is reasonable costs and difference in numbers, I mean, I think that should be expected, so.
How many bidders did you have?
3.
You only have the 3. One other option, that if it does look like it's gonna be substantially different, you could also invite both of the
Fading
to-
West.
to bid on it
Yeah, and
if you want to.
and I'm not anything against Fading West at all, but the one thing is Fading West will need a construction loan. So
Yeah,
we're gonna,
yeah, so I
You run into
don't
the same
think,
issue with Fading West as
Right.
you would with
That you have
Berger.
now.
right, so, right, I mean, I think that's, yeah, I think it's solution builders or going out
Yeah.
again, right? And, but anyway, I just don't want some like hiccup in the RFP to totally derail us from actually making real progress with
And just
solution
as a,
builders.
and then I'll be real blunt, as a matter of just timing and trying to actually be digging in either May or June next year, which we would have to be doing. Honestly, solution builders will either have to tell us within the first 2 weeks of whether they really are interested and they can redo, you know, and be ready to go. And so I think by the 7th, I'll be able to get you an update.
Yeah.
And hope, like I said, I'm gonna be down there, I mean, my wife's condo is literally 5 minutes from her factory.
I'd like to know, while you're down there, man, if you can ask them if they anticipate any escalation of construction costs based on these proposed tariffs to like lumber from Canada and all this other stuff, and you know, is that gonna blow up the costs and everything, or are they, what are they forecasting, what are they anticipating around that stuff? And
Yeah, I think they are owned by Berkshire Hathaway.
yeah, I know
So-
that, yeah, I used to work for one of their companies.
So I think, to your point, I think they will have a realistic outlook on that. So, yeah, I will get you, like I said, we'll, I think you need to make, you still want to make a formal motion, right?
Yes, we do,
And then I will get you guys an update on the 7th.
And can I say if we have an update sooner, do you have a meeting on the 30th that we could maybe?
Yeah.
So if we get an answer sooner, could we?
Okay.
Be flexible on when we,
yeah, no, I mean, anytime, yeah.
That's 10 days from now. I thought that was
Well,
Monday. I
there
was
you
like,
go.
Jackie, I don't look like.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I was like, sorry, I'm like, today's the 20th. Okay, good, I didn't miss Christmas.
You didn't miss Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Alright, so given we could get an update, do you wanna include the kind of permission to also post an RFP with our motion, or simply,
Why don't you direct us to reach out to, my
Yeah.
suggestion is why don't you choose for your second respondent, which is Oakwood Homes, and bring you back an update either on the 30th or the 7th, as soon as we can. And then you guys can then formally either say, yes, proceed, based on some details we bring back, or no,
You need to go to the RFP.
go to RFP.
sounds good,
Yeah.
alright. I'll entertain a motion then to direct staff to move forward with outreach to Oakwood Homes and Solution Builders. To pursue engagement and to update the board as soon as possible in either our December 30th or January 7th meetings.
Second your motion,
No, you need.
Say so moved,
or so moved?
please, thank you.
I'll second.
Alright, any further discussion? No, not seeing any, thanks everybody.
That looks great.
Yeah. Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Alright,
Thank you.
thank you very much, and we kind of addressed and all the other agenda items, and we don't need to go into any of those in detail until we have more information on concrete steps moving forward. Okay, so at 12:58, we will adjourn. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Adam.